and welcome back to Elle the Law Student. So today I'm filming two videos. I don't know when each one will be up. I'll probably put like a week in between them. But the first one that I'm going to film is just a general Q&A because I've got so many questions, and then I'll also be doing an assumptions part 2 video because again, you seemed to really like that video last year. So I'll be reading the assumptions off my laptop because I'm an idiot, and I forgot my camera. I forgot to bring my camera to uni, so I've been filming my videos on my phone, but obviously that means that I can't then use my phone to read the assumptions on Instagram and the questions on Instagram off. So I had to screenshot them, send them to my laptop, and so my laptop's here, so that's why I'm looking down all the time. Okay, so the first question is, how are you? Like, really, how are you during this crisis? I'm actually doing okay. Like, I've definitely been better, but I've definitely also been worse. I've been really busy. There's just been a lot going on. Things are starting to look up now. Like, if you asked me this question a couple of weeks ago, I would have been like, I'm dying, I can't deal with the world right now. But I do feel okay. I hope everyone's doing all right. I know that it's a really difficult time, and if you're not doing all right, that's also okay. Like, whenever I've been having a really terrible day, I've just had to tell myself, like, you know, pandemic, daft uni rules, loads of work, everything in the world. Like, I think you've just got to accept that it's okay not to be okay. And if you were completely okay all the time, then that's probably a bit strange. I then had a lot of questions about interviews. So how many interviews did you have and what were they like? I also had questions about how not to get nervous before an interview. I had questions about interview tips and that sort of thing. So I'll briefly kind of go over my interview experience, but I have a full video dedicated to this, so I won't go into too much detail. Somebody sort of specifically said that they wanted detailed tips, and all of those are in my interviews video. So how many interviews did I have and what were they like? I had 2 interviews, both of them were at Worcester, and they were fine. It was just kind of an informal conversation. It was about stretching the way that I was thinking. It was about me explaining my ideas. Definitely not about coming to a right answer. And I think if you're applying for something like law, where you've never studied it before, that's definitely not the point. And I would even go so far as to say that's not really the point in other disciplines as well. I know this year will be different because it's obviously online, but I also know that some people who watch this channel are just like super prepared, and so we're thinking a couple of years in advance. But one of the ways that I kind of helped keep my nerves down was the students who were here helping with the interviews were just organising loads of really fun trips. So we went to G&D's, which is an ice cream parlour. We had like quiz nights, we had sort of chill times. It was really nice, and just I knew quite a few people from Unique, which is a summer school that I'd done the previous year. And so it was kind of like a little reunion. It was really sweet. They even had like a specific Unique reunion party kind of at Teddy Hall, which was really nice, and it just helped me to feel like, okay, I'm not alone here, there are other people like me here, like it's all good. But equally, like, it's completely fine for your interview experience to be the worst experience of your life, to feel horrifically nervous, like all of these things, that's fine. I know lots of people who felt like that and they got in. Like, it's no, whether you think your interview went incredibly well or terribly, really don't think too much about that. I was really lucky because both of my at the time I did not think I was lucky, but I was really lucky because both of my interviews were on the same day, and so I didn't have the time to get worked up about it because I literally arrived at about 9:15. My first interview was at 9. I then had some time during the day. I think I just did some schoolwork so that I wasn't missing out on anything from school, and then my second interview was that evening. And so I just got it all out the way, which was quite good. Okay, so the next one is, how do you recommend prepping for law school in the months before uni starts? I'm assuming this is referring to undergraduate law. I know, like, in the US and stuff it's called law school when it's post-grad because you can't study undergrad law, but I'll just speak from my experience. I think the LNAT is actually a really good way to prepare in terms of the revision you do for that, and developing those skills is quite good. If you don't know what that is, I've got 3 videos about that, but I think basically just sort of thinking critically, you know, not just taking something that you read as being true, kind of thinking, just really encouraging yourself to have your own opinion, which I feel as though sometimes the education system in this country can dissuade that. Not on the part of teachers or anything. I had incredible teachers who were always encouraging us to think sort of what were our opinions, but sometimes to get the good marks you have to put what the examiner wants you to put. Having opinions about things, making sure you're watching the news, reading a newspaper. You don't need to know anything before you start a law course, but it's good to have that general awareness. And then there's also a question about wider reading you could do. Really anything, like as I said, you could read things like the newspaper. That'll help you, especially with Brexit and everything going on, and Donald Trump, and him saying that the election results are bad. Yeah, all of that's interesting, forming an opinion on that. Also thinking about the other side, and thinking about like the best opinion from the other side and how you would challenge that. And also things like, there are so many books now by incredible barristers. So for example, In Your Defence, in black and white. There's like the classic book called The Rule of Law by Tom Bingham, who was a Supreme Court judge. Loads of different things, but there's no sort of set reading at all. Just kind of getting your brain into a lawry mode might be useful. What was the application process like? I made a video a couple of months ago about how to apply for a UK law course, so I will send you over there because that's easier. In general, like obviously it's stressful. I think it's stressful to apply for anything, whether it's a job, a university course, like undergraduate, postgraduate. I think it's all gonna be stressful. Because there's a chance of failure, you know. So I think just plod along, keep in your mind like you can do this, you'll get through. The worst that can happen is they say no, and just keep ticking the stages of the application off your list. Are law-related extracurriculars beneficial for an international student's application? As far as I know, I don't think there's any kind of difference between an international student's application and a home student's application. Like I think that for everybody, law-related extracurriculars are a good thing to include on your personal statement, but equally they're not the be-all and end-all. Like it's very difficult, especially at the moment, for example, to participate in things like debates and get work experience at a law firm and all of these things. I really didn't have like loads of specifically law-related extracurriculars. However, all of the extracurriculars that I did, I made sure that I framed them in a way that showed that they were transferable skills for law. So like I taught a dance class, which showed that I was good at communicating. You might think differently after watching my videos, but and teamwork, because I worked in a coffee shop, and all of these things, like there's just loads of different ways that you can show that you would make a good law student aside from very specific law-related extracurriculars. Does first year accommodation have en suites? So it just depends. I didn't, because my room was a cheaper room and I shared a bathroom with 3 other people, which really wasn't bad at all. There was never a time where any of us were waiting to go into the bathroom. And to be fair, before I came to university, I did think that sharing a bathroom would be the worst thing in the world, but I don't actually think it is at all. It was fine. But it completely depends, and it depends on your college and everything as well. In Worcester, the vast majority of people did have an ensuite in first year, so they didn't share a bathroom. But yeah, it just depends on which college you're at and the accommodation that you pick. There's generally a wide range. Okay, so do you enjoy the Oxford Law course? I really do. Like, I really enjoy my degree. I enjoy the content of my degree. I find it really interesting. I still feel very engaged. Every week is different. Every essay that I write is very different. I learn an enormous amount every single day. I get confused an enormous amount, but then it's generally cleared up. I do enjoy the Oxford Law course. However, it's definitely not for everybody. You don't have much choice in terms of modules, so you only get to choose 2 of your modules, whereas at other universities that's generally like 4. And it's a very sort of linear system. You do exams in first year, like halfway through first year, in 3 modules, but then the rest of your exams are all left until the end of third year, which is a bit terrifying, but I think for me it'll probably be a good thing, because I don't think I really hit my stride until coming towards the end of second year. I enjoy it, not everyone will. There's also a lot of work, like a lot of work. What if you started the Oxford Law course and didn't really enjoy it? You don't have to stay. Like, this is the thing. I think that, you know, first, obviously your immediate response shouldn't be drop out, because when you start anything, it's very, very normal to not enjoy it. But say you started and you kind of thought that the workload was too much, you weren't enjoying the tutorials, you didn't feel like you were getting anything out of it, you spoke to welfare, you spoke to your tutors, and you just weren't enjoying yourself, and you felt like you would be better suited either to something like an apprenticeship or a different university course or something, that's fine. You can do that. Like, that's absolutely fine. You can even take a year out. That's called suspension. So if you've got kind of a mental health reason or something like that, that means that you want to take time out, then that's also okay, and quite a few people do that, and you'll be supported through that process. So I think just it's fine, don't worry. How much time in advance do you get your invitation for interviews at Oxford? You know, I genuinely cannot remember, but I'm pretty sure I mentioned it in my interview video, and I'll look it up. Hi, so it's pretty dark, so you probably can't see me very well, but I have checked. You should find out whether you've been accepted for an interview between the middle of November, so probably around about now, and early December. So there's a good kind of 2-3 week period in which you can find out. And then, because interviews will take place mid-December, just make sure that you don't plan anything for around that time before you know whether or not you've got an interview. Is it possible to change from the Law and European Studies course to the normal law course? Yeah, it is. So the European, like Law with European Studies course is you do a year abroad in your third year. So a few of my friends are now on their year abroad, and you study in a different country, you study their legal system. But I know a couple of people who started out on the Law with Law Studies in Germany or wherever, who have now switched. So yeah, that's a thing that you can do. What's the structure like now? Are your tutorials and lectures online? Where do you work? Great question. Yep, everything's online. I've not had any in-person stuff. I work in my room mostly, which is annoying because I have never worked in my room before. Like, I actively try and avoid doing that. Sometimes I go to the faculty library, but you have to book, and you have to book quite a while in advance. So I've not been that successful. I think I've only been twice this term. And sometimes I work in the kitchen. So yeah, before lockdown I would work in cafes. I try and change where I'm working, but obviously at the moment that doesn't happen, and so I just work in my room, which isn't ideal, but what can you do? What supercurriculars would you advise to have? This really links back to my answer to the question earlier about extracurriculars and law related stuff. I don't advise to have any in particular, just do what you enjoy. Something like debating, Model United Nations or something would be cool to have, you know, but equally I feel as though you can link so many things to law. Law is so suited for people of so many different skills, so anything really, and just think about how that is a transferable skill to law. So maybe you really enjoy writing. Well, writing is super important for a law degree and in practice. Anything involving public speaking, obviously, again, anything involving teamwork, like often you have to work together. Anything that just kind of shows that you've thought about things. Yeah, I think anything really. What should I be doing as a year 12 to prepare for applying to Oxford or anywhere for law? Great question, and you are way ahead of the game, because I had no idea I wanted to study law at this point in year 12. Just kind of doing things that you can then put on your personal statement. You don't need to stress about anything. The main thing right now, I think, is to make sure your grades are where they need to be for those applications. But researching a bit into law courses, thinking about, you know, do I want to go for Oxford? Trying to understand how different courses are structured, because there is a huge difference between, for example, an Oxford law degree and a law degree at, say, Liverpool, which is another place that I applied to. Their courses are structured completely differently. You can do a lot more kind of interdisciplinary stuff in Liverpool. So yeah, just working out what you want from your degree and what would work best for you. I think the rest of the questions are basically all about interviews, which is totally understandable because that's the next big stage in the interview process. But as I said, I do have a video all about that, so please go and watch that. And if you do have any more questions after watching that, just drop me a message on Instagram or just comment down below on this video or on the interviews video. I hope this was useful and I hope it answered your questions. The questions that I selected to answer were basically questions that I get most days coming into my inbox, so hopefully this will be quite useful, and then I can also direct people to this video if they have any similar questions. Alright then, I will see you in the next video. Bye!